We're having technical difficulties. Lol.
I'm not surprised.
That's right. No, it's just LinkedIn. All right, I think we're live. Yep, we sure are. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first episode. We're live today. Hello, Ange. Hello, Nikita.
Hey, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, really good. Looks like you're enjoying your coffee.
I'm enjoying my time in lockdown. Yes, very much so. And that's why we're catching up today, just to obviously talk about how lockdown's treated us over the last few days. Fairly casual discussion around how the market's been and all the questions that everyone's got at the moment around just COVID and lockdown stage part 2. It's like a bad movie. There's a part 2
I
now.
know.
And
Here we go again.
there may be a part 3. Here we go again. Hopefully no part 3.
The sequel.
That's it, the sequel. That's exactly right. How you guys been? How you finding, exactly 7 days since lockdown? Lockdown happened midnight last Wednesday. So we are just shy of 7 days. Yeah. It feels like
just shy of a week.
Feels like longer than a week, doesn't it?
It does. We've done a lot though.
Yeah, it does. It's gone, feels longer than a week, but it's also gone really quick.
Yeah. What's been happening? Have you guys been just adjusting, working from home again? How's all that been? I'm assuming you both had your workstation set up at home.
Yes. Got a good little studio here. Got some lighting in the background.
Good job.
What about you,
Yeah,
Ange?
mine's not that professionally set up. It's
Elaborate.
my laptop on the dining table with my dog by my side. The job still gets done, and I've had to come into the office today so I can print off some documents and so I can go see a client. But yeah, sort of shuffling back and forth as needed. But it's been okay. You know, we were used to it from first time round. So second time round, I think we're more adjusted. Same for you.
Yeah, well, exactly right. We had Rodney. Rodney's one of my ex-colleagues from my Ray White days in Geelong, and he said, "Come back to Geelong." So, you know what? I would love to come back to Geelong because I don't think they have any lockdown over there at the moment. They are just living life as per usual. So we forget it's just us in Melbourne that are living through this Mexico border style lockdown. In Geelong, life is just as per usual for them. So there you go.
Yeah, for sure.
So give us a quick summary, obviously, for the viewers. There's a few people that have already tuned in that are watching us at the moment. Give us a summary of how have the last 7 days been as far as the market's going. Let's start with you, Angela.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing in the market? Last 7 days, lockdown happened.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't expected, but it just happened. So what was the first reaction? How did you go with buyers, sellers? What happened?
So the first thing we did was get in touch with our sellers and we just wanted to reassure them that although this has happened, we're better equipped now. So we did it back in April, and we can most certainly guide them through this process and see it through until the very, very end. I think we're in a very, very fortunate place that we work for such a great organisation. The resources are there, the tools are there. We've got all the knowledge. We've done it before. We did the online auction. So they're really in a good place working with us so we can see it through. So we just wanted to give them that reassurance that it's still okay. Yeah, the public opens weren't going to happen, but we just converted everything to private inspections and just dealt with some really, really quality buyers. I was super busy on Saturday. I had, 7 or 8 or so private inspections across 4 different properties and all really quality inspections.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about you, Nikita? What was the first sort of reaction from the vendors as soon as this lockdown happened? I know a lot of vendors, before calling us, they were calling their favourite restaurants to book in their final meal.
The last supper, they call it.
Me and Lizzie and my mother-in-law, all 3 of us were on the phones. We were like a call centre on Wednesday, just trying to score a booking. And I reckon we called 50 or 60 places, and every single place that we contacted was just booked out. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably had a similar experience.
Absolutely. I think, look, obviously everyone's sort of turning, vendors, they turn to us for, the answers. But the thing is that we know just as much as everyone else does at the moment. And, it's just about us being able to update and stay on top of all of, you know, these changes that are happening, because there's so many changes that are happening on a daily basis, let alone a weekly basis. So, you know, we're very fortunate to be such an innovative company that we have, you know, all of the tools and everything to be able to, you know, adapt with this climate, because this climate is changing on a daily basis, like I said. So following on from what Ange said before, yes, we aren't doing open for inspections, but that's why it's so important that you have someone proactive behind you if you are looking to sell, or, you know, someone who actually picks up the phones and, you know, you've met these buyers previously. We're having to do a lot of driven inspections now. So going through a lot of our old stock and, you know, contacting these buyers. Are they still looking? There's definitely still some activity out there in terms of people wanting to buy. It's just not as high as what it was before. But then again, the quality of those buyers is a lot better. You know, most people aren't out there looking, they're not making inquiries on properties if they're not actually looking to purchase at the moment.
So,
you know,
so what you say, if they're a sticky beaking, they're probably not going to go to the effort of booking in a private inspection right now, unless they're a serious buyer that is interested in buying. So if someone, say a hot tip for agents and sellers, if there's someone that's requesting an inspection in the current climate, they are there to buy. They're not there to sort of just chill and check out the decor of this property or see what homes they're selling for in the area, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Would that be a fair statement?
Market.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, they've done their research online. They've checked out the property, and I guess we're asking all those questions as well. You know, just to make sure that they're coming in with the right sort of knowledge. You know, as an example, I've got this property that I'm taking to auction this weekend, and it's a 3-level townhouse. It's a bit different to your typical townhouse, and I want to make sure that they know it's a 3-level, that they know that there's no backyard, so there's no surprises, and they do. They do. They've researched online. They've Googled mapped the location. So they're coming in well informed, which is helping us and helping our clients as well. Yeah,
totally. Something you mentioned that I sort of wanted to ask you a bit more detail about, Nikita, before. You said, we are so lucky we are a company that's obviously constantly striving for innovation and we're doing new things. And that's obviously, we didn't plan for this. It was just an accident, and it happens to be, for those of you that don't know, my background is IT. I did study IT at university. Cliche, because my background's Indian too, and every Indian studies IT or wants to become a doctor. But exactly right. So it was almost like an accidental plan that just worked, because we did set up, we moved all our systems to the cloud. We were doing live streaming auctions and all that sort of stuff. So let's start with you, Nikita. Can you give us a couple of examples of things that we have done that has really been useful stuff right now in the current climate for vendors and buyers?
Absolutely. So obviously our live streaming for auctions, we've been doing that since we were on site. So as soon as that program was available, we were already doing that. So that's definitely given us, you know, a head start in terms of how it works. We can thoroughly explain it to vendors and buyers how to use this product, because it's not our first time testing it out. So it's definitely an advantage to us. And just like you were saying before, we're all cloud-based. So we don't need to go to the office to pull out a file for a property and, you know, check what the advertising expenditure is or anything like that, because it's all on the cloud, it's all on the drive, it's all accessible to us. So, you know, that makes working from home in these circumstances, even if we were to say, for example, go into stage 4 lockdown, we've prepared in the sense that nearly every single one of our properties, it has a 3D tour. We've got videos, or, you know, we've done our own live stream walkthroughs of the properties just in case. We're always preparing for worst case scenario, because in this climate, you just don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, 100%. And what about you, Ange? Anything in particular that stood out that's been very, very powerful, a bit of a game changer in the last couple of weeks?
Look, I really like these private inspections, because you just get a really good opportunity to talk to these buyers and get an understanding of what they like about the property, what they don't like, and, you know, their current situation. And typically a lot of this information, especially if you had a busy open home back in the day, you would try to extract this info on the Monday or Tuesday when you call them, and chances are you're going to leave a message and you'll play phone tag, and, you know, days go by and you may not even reach them. But these private inspections are great, because you can have a great discussion about their requirements, the property itself, how it suits them, getting their price opinion, asking about offers. And yeah, I think that I've enjoyed that. I really have. I've really enjoyed working with buyers one-on-one. Yeah. Yeah,
So yeah,
well,
buyers
I
definitely
loved
feel
it as
loved and
well, yeah.
appreciated, and they're not
yeah,
trying to get our attention when they're competing with 10 other people, but at the same time, it's private. They get to do a proper walkthrough without having a lot of other people there. So yeah, I can imagine.
yeah,
You know, and I've seen that myself. Yeah, every time I've done a private inspections, people are loving it, and there's sometimes. There was an interesting bit of feedback I got from a buyer. I thought, okay, so you do exist because we thought you were a myth because, you know, there's so many inspections that we sometimes run that these buyers just don't ever get an opportunity to chat one-on-one. They sort of walk in, we register, they walk through the home and they leave. Whereas this time we had a really good conversation. I made a list of all their criteria and what they wanted. And from an agent point of view, I really enjoyed getting to intimately know this buyer. Although we do so much data study and all that on every buyer that walks through our properties, it's just nothing better than the human connection. So, yeah, I'm 100% with you guys. By the way, I can see there's a few people that are tuned in and watching it. So, guys, please press the like button if you like everything, and do share it on your pages as well. This is really valuable information that we're talking about today. Like and subscribe. That's it. A shameless plug right there.
ask us questions.
Ask the question exactly. You don't. The answer to every question you don't ask is by default no. So you got to ask. But yeah, more importantly, I think it's one of those topics that everyone's thinking about, everyone's got on their mind. Unfortunately, for those of you, sorry to break it, but we don't have the exact answer as to what happens next, but we can definitely give you in today's session. I mean, obviously the idea is to capture some of the buyer sentiment, the vendor sentiment out there, what's working, what's not working. So that's really the idea. And we just want to share this information with people because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are considering selling, or they're unsure what to do, or all that sort of stuff. So just a quick wrap of what's changed in the last 7 days and what's allowed. So obviously no open for inspections. All scheduled inspections have to be cancelled, right?
Yep.
No public auctions, but we have 5 auctions lined up this weekend. So what's our plan? Do you want to walk? Woo, that's it. Do you want to walk us through how we are facilitating those 5 auctions? I actually have a little photo, so I'll let you answer that question, Ange, but I'll see if I can show that photo on the screen. There's a little studio set up with big screens and everything. It's real pro equipment right there.
Yeah, Studio Ray White.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
we're really excited.
what's the plan?
So we do have 5 auctions on, I think, starting from 10 and going all the way through every hour, which is great. We've got a team all lined up. We've got our camera person, Mia, who will be live streaming. Both Kevin and I will be conducting our own auctions, while we have Nikita and Mark and Stefan in the background there to help us see that through. So yeah, basically it's a live stream and we give our buyers all the links.
Yeah,
they have to register first, and so they register, make sure that they're eligible to bid. We approve them, so we need to make sure we're dealing with the right buyers and not just any randoms that can jump on. That doesn't happen. It's all heavily monitored. So our buyers are there behind the scenes. They're watching it, they're live streaming it, and it's as simple as clicking a button and pressing their increment to bid, which comes up on the feed, and we'll be announcing it. And it's a really, really easy platform. The platform we use is called Gavel, GAVL. Download it, download the app, watch it on your laptop, and get involved. So yeah, we're really excited. We did them back in April. They were very successful, and we're looking forward to recreating it this weekend and moving forwards. And we've got some really good interest on our properties. I think they're going to go extremely well.
Yeah.
Good answer, Ange. Interesting bit of data. I heard Dan White say, on an average, so as we know, Ray White studies a lot of data, and we as an office and a business study a lot of data. One of the interesting pieces of data they found was live and online auctions per auction had more registered bidders than street auctions through the last 5-week lockdown. So you would have seen that, but very interesting statistic, because I can most certainly confirm that through the first round of lockdown, I think we did 8 or 9 live auctions, and on an average, we had 4 registered bidders per auction. There was more. I think there was one auction here or there that only had 1 registered bidders, but we had one auction, I remember, that had 7 or 8 registered bidders on that property. So
we had one auction that went for 40 minutes. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I do. And it's very interesting from our point of view as well, those live auctions. I mean, as an auctioneer, I thought they were a bit stranger to start, because you sort of you crack a joke and there is no crowd response. You don't know if that joke's been taken well by people or not. So it was definitely a new experience. But since then, I guess there's been some good learnings for us, because we've trialed and done this so many times. We've prepared for every scenario. But do you want to give us a quick sort of 60-second walkthrough, indicator of of what does that auction day look like? How is it different to a street auction? Obviously, there's no crowd. It's done in an enclosed space. Where's the vendor sitting? How are the buyers watching it? Who's communicating with them? Have we had any technical difficulties that you could think of? I don't think we've had, touch wood.
We did have one tiny one, but we dealt with it, yeah. So basically, how we were doing it prior to the last lockdown, we didn't have the studio, so obviously it'll be a little bit different again this time, but we had it in our actual office. Our whole team was spaced out in the reception area. Kevin was standing in front of the camera. Mia was behind the camera. She had the iPad, obviously tracking any bids that were coming through. And Kevin also could see on another screen any bids that were coming through, and he would obviously just yell them out. There's still the same sort of scenario in terms of the auction script is done at the start. The property is described at the start, and then it's opened up to any bidders. So obviously after you've pre-registered, you'll get a phone call from one of us, either myself or any of the other agents that you're dealing with. And we always suggest to have a second contact number that we can contact you on, because if you're going to be bidding on your phone, then it's going to get in the way if we need to pause the auction and have a conversation with that buyer. So we'll always have a second contact number to, speak to any of our registered parties. And it's literally as if, you're watching a Facebook live stream of an auction, except if you want to make a bid, you're entering it into a phone or whatnot. So we have had one technical difficulty. However, we managed to overcome that very quickly. And that was one person's iPad or iPhone had frozen, and we were on the phone to them. We called them. We said, look, we've reached reserve. It's about to sell. Are you sure you're out? And he's like, no, I'm trying to bid, but it's not going through. It's not going through. And I was like, okay. So we ran over to the iPad, and we actually have, a back end system where we can actually enter a bid on behalf of the person if they give us, obviously permission to do so. So we are all over it in terms of, if there are technical difficulties or not. So, yeah.
Backup plans.
Backup plan, absolutely. And you touched on a very good point, because sometimes the fear, I guess some vendors or some buyers have is, what about, do we lose the human touch completely? Do they feel, what's the experience like? Are they going to feel like as if they're on eBay? And that's not really the case. We get a backup phone number. One of the team members is on the phone to them during the whole auction, sort of navigating and guiding them through the whole process, saying, guys, we've got this other bid that's already on your screen so they can see it, but then you are the person speaking to them on the phone as well. One of the luxuries that I sort of enjoy of doing that live auction is the ability to take a little bit longer compared to a street auction, because on a street auction, unknowingly, there's so much pressure. There's a lot of people watching. There's neighbours, and everyone want to know what's happening. So you can't sort of run a half an hour auction, because you do lose that engagement from people. But with the live auction, we've seen last time around that we did pause the auction several times to get some instructions, because the vendors are situated in their lounge room. They're not physically there. The buyers are not physically there. And then straight after everything was done, the property was sold under the hammer, we would send them digital contracts, DocuSign. And that's been working pretty well too, because we've been doing digital contracts for nearly 12 months now, and that's been great, paper saver as well. So I've put the link in the comment section or I've mentioned the name, the Gavel app. So if any of our viewers, if you guys want to tune in this weekend, we've got a heap of properties going to auction this weekend, so definitely jump in.
Just to sort of finish up on that as well, just some comments I had from some buyers, because they were a bit fearful. Typically a street auction, the pace that we run at is quite fast, and I don't think we're the kind of auctioneers that would rush through anything and give people plenty of time. But I know there are others that would go so quick where a lot of buyers just don't know where things are up to. It happens a lot out there. So exactly what you said before, some of these auctions can take that little bit longer, but now even more so, we will be taking our time and making sure buyers do know exactly what is going on at every step of the way, taking regular pauses if we need to, jumping on the phone and reassuring them that we're not going to knock it down without making sure that they're 100% in or 100% out. That's their fear. They fear that if they lose live stream for a second, they might lose that last opportunity. So,
Good point. Very good point. Thank you, Angela.
And also find that with
sorry, go on.
Sorry, also find that some buyers, especially if they're first home buyers and it's their first time attending an auction, it's already scary enough going to an auction, let alone, it being online. So that is, it's a concern. So I think some buyers really do appreciate the fact that, it's okay. We're going to hold your hand every step of the way. We'll be on the phone to you. We'll have someone on the phone to you throughout the entire auction. just guiding you to let you know. But also some buyers, they don't know where to come in at in terms of price point. They say, they like to know, is it okay to put in a $10,000 bid yet? Can I put a $5,000 bid? Are you accepting only $25,000 bids? So having that guidance on the phone to them is, something that they really appreciate.
Totally. Absolutely. Agree. Next question. One of the questions I get asked a few times, and I'm sure you guys too, from vendors, with COVID and being, all the safety measures and stage 3 restrictions, as much as we're allowed to operate, we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to ensure the health and safety of the community. What measures are being taken? What information gets captured? What are we doing at open for inspection? Private viewings, when we're taking people through? Who wants to go?
We're doing, I guess, as far as capturing details, that's part and parcel of what we do anyway. So we'll still take their full names, their phone numbers, their email addresses, and of course now even more so, there is no way we'll be dealing with anyone who refuses to give that information, because we need to be COVID safe, us, them, and our clients as well. So that happens without fail. An idea of where they live, just to sort of see where our buyers are coming from. That's always a good, useful question to ask. But, so we need to capture that information as a start. Secondly, as far as saying safe, being sanitized, our hands, wearing gloves and masks as needed as well. All vital, and all things that we do with every inspection.
And shoe covers. We ordered like 1,000 shoe covers the other day. Remember?
True. Big box of them, yeah.
Next question. Where are the buyers coming from and who are they? Who wants to go first? Andrew, you sold a property last night for a huge price.
I did. Where did these buyers come from? Yeah, so I find that it's one of two things. Either they're local or out of area, of course. But generally we'll find, okay. Yeah.
This is revolutionary.
Oh, I know, right? Been doing it.
That's one thing that's going to send this content's going to go viral now.
They're local or out of area. I know, right? Go study for 6 weeks and learn that.
Good one.
So look, typically I find they're either going to be local. So by the local buyers, I mean whether they're first home buyers, whether they're looking to upsize, looking to downsize, if they've been in the area, they generally love the area and they want to stay in the area. So whether you're renting, whether they're in a smaller property and they want to make that change and they want to stay local. So they're our first demographic. The second demographic, of course, is the out of area. But what I find with out of area seems to be a bit of a pattern. Over all the years that I've been doing it, I find that they're inner city based, a lot of them. St Kilda, Elwood predominantly. Yeah, and I find that they come into Cheltenham, they come into Bayside because they see it as the first quality suburb, still close to the CBD and still close to the water as well, and offering great value for money and having all the amenities that they're looking for. So ticking all of those boxes. Yesterday's buyer, for instance, was local. Today's buyer that I'm dealing with is coming from the Docklands. So again, inner city or city-based, coming out here, value for money.
Any different from you, Nikita, or fairly similar?
I think you've pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Not much I can
and very interesting as well, their thought processes too around what they're thinking. Because and that's the next question is this a good time to sell? I mean, how often do we get asked the question? It's almost a daily question at the moment.
Daily.
Is this a good time to sell? Should we be selling? We are thinking of selling. What do we do? Do we wait? If so, how long do we wait? I mean, the straightforward answer is no one knows. It could be 12 months. It could be 3 years. If we could accurately predict this, then we'd all be on our private yachts because we would be doing this. But in France, exactly right. But there is a common consensus that the market may change in the next 12 months. Is this a good time to sell right now, Angela?
Look, it is a good time to sell. All we can talk about is the now, because now is what we know. And we go back to the data that you were talking about that Ray White produces on a weekly basis now. So they capture all the data across all of the offices across all of Australia and New Zealand. And that's all showing that where we are right now. So what we know is there are more online inquiries right now than ever before. More people at home, opportunity to look at properties. More finance approvals are happening right now than 12 months ago. Our brokers from Loan Market are providing that info. So finance approval, more buyers are out there. More buyers are finance approved. There's that. Also, there's a shortage of stock. So anyone thinking of coming on the market, when is a better time to sell? When there's less stock on the market. So there's 3 quality keys. You know, rates are still low for buyers, but as far as home sellers are concerned, all those things are pointing to the direction of selling now. We know what's happening now. We're selling properties. We have the tools and resources to get you the results. But what is to come is the unknown and the risky part. The risk lies towards the end of the year, that September, October period, which seems to be, you know, the biggest topic right now. What's going to happen? JobKeeper, job seeker. You know, people aren't coming into the country to spend their money on our homes. Mortgage relief is going to run out. All of those things. So we don't know. We know what's happening right now. People are in a fortunate position right now. What is to come is so unknown. So if you're looking at doing something, our July calendar obviously is booked out. We're now booking into August, touching into September. If you're looking at doing anything, I recommend now rather than later, 100%.
Yeah. Interestingly enough as well, that you touched on something. I might actually share my screen at this point, but you touched on something and you said that there is less homes on the market right now compared to this time last year. But also, we also know that there is going to be a timeline when all this JobKeeper, job seeker is over. But traditionally, spring's a very busy time to sell, isn't it? I'm just sharing my screen. Can you guys see this? Cheltenham peak selling period. So this is the data pulled over the last 3 years for homes in Cheltenham, and the data for Mentone looks almost exactly the same as this. And it's very interesting because if you look at this, typically there is a peak around March in the area, and we didn't quite see the same peak. And then April through to July is fairly steady, with July being generally a very quiet month for transactions.
Yeah.
This year's been a little bit different. So this is for the last 3 years, and the data, if we were to look at the data for this calendar year, it actually looks nothing like this. The interesting part though, spring here is busy. So do we think spring again is going to be busy this year, as per what it's showing on this data pool? So do you think we're going to have a busy spring?
Good question.
What do you think, Ed?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, usually we'd be having those spring discussions now with sellers.
Yep.
And they're not happening as much.
Yeah. So my sort of gut feel is that the spring may not start off as busy as it normally is, but as we get deeper into it, it's going to be an explosion, because not only are we going to have your normal busy spring properties, but then at the same time, there's going to be properties that have held back because of everything that's going on that may go on the market. So it's a very interesting discussion. No one really knows if it's going to be a similar spring to what there is each year with as far as number of properties that go on the market, or is it going to be a little bit quieter than that, or is it just going to be a flood of properties hitting the market? It's a very, very interesting topic.
Yeah.
I think I've just brought up something no one really has the answer to.
Yeah, I think as
that's another one. We just don't have the answer to it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
As we sort of come into the year even further, it seems like slowly but surely a little bit more is starting to come on, because let's rewind when this first happened, no one knew what on earth was going on. So the brakes were pushed, everything was on hold, and then slowly but surely a few more homes came on the market. We started to sell more, and a few more, I guess we're setting some new benchmarks to say, okay, homes are selling. These are the prices. We're still getting some reasonable results. It certainly hasn't come back 20 or 30% by no means. And so as a result, more homeowners got a little bit more confident and decided to come on the market. So I think with the next lot of properties that we're selling over July and August might inspire some more home sellers to come on and maybe fulfill that dream of theirs of selling in spring, summer.
I think the other question, I guess the other important thing for people to remember when we talk about is this a good time to sell or not, it depends on what their next plan is. So how often do we have this discussion with people? If they're looking at upsizing, this is probably the best time to sell they've had, in best opportunity in 10 years. Because
Sure.
if they're moving from a 2-bedroom unit or an apartment or a 3-bedroom townhouse or whatever it may be, which is say in the $600 to $1 million range, and they're looking at purchasing the next home, which may have been 1.5 previously, and that's selling for, say, for example, 1.4, their property might have gone down 50 to 60,000. The other property might have gone down at potentially $100,000, because as we know, that the air gets thinner as you go higher in price sometimes. But then for people that are in the $1.5 million price range that own those homes, there actually isn't much on the market. There's only 5 homes for sale at the moment that are sort of in that vicinity for sale. So, for example, compared to them competing with 25 other properties, the people you sold your property to last night, they had sold their family home 2 weeks ago, correct? So they are in a position to buy. They've already sold their property. They needed to buy. So what happens with this lockdown and what restrictions comes next, it's irrelevant for them, because they need to buy a property. They've got the money ready to go. They've already sold their home. And also,
Exactly.
I think for families, if their family's outgrowing the current property, they need to get a bigger home. Well, they need to get a bigger home. They're not going to wait until the next cycle happens. In order to do that.
Transacting in the same market. Yeah.
Absolutely. And interest rates are still at an all-time low, which has been something that a lot of buyers have brought up from time to time. So I think there's a lot of considerations, but overall the confidence seems fine. We thought, especially the first lockdown, when the first lockdown happened, the discussions I remember all of us were having in the office was, what does this mean? What, is everything going to kind of stop and slow down? But that never quite happened, did it?
I think to a small degree, but life goes on, doesn't it? People still have to move. There are still genuine needs out there.
Very true.
I mean, obviously we can't sit here and say that, the market is an all-time high and, things are flying over reserve or anything. If anything, I think it's just evened out. It's settled down. Things aren't going crazy anymore. It's just things are selling, within the advertised range.
It's just calm.
Yeah.
Very true.
I mean, let's face it, back in Feb and March, things were out of control.
Crazy, 150 grand over reserve.
Weren't they? 10,
Crazy,
15% over reserve, and buyers queued up for days and all sorts of things. So if we're saying it's come back off that, well, we're not in a bad place, are we?
No.
Yeah,
exactly.
Spot on. Next question. Is this lockdown any different to the first one?
What do you think,
I guess
Peter?
at this stage, in a sense for us, we're doing it better because, we've had experience previously on, the last time we had the lockdown, everyone was sort of like, what do we do? How is this going to look? Are we still going to sell properties? Are buyers still going to come through? Is Corona going to deter people from wanting to leave their house and look at homes? But, that first lockdown, we were still doing on average between 15 to 20 Saturday inspections. So, and that still hasn't changed. This last Saturday that just went by, our team, we did, it was just shy of 20 private inspections. And, we're still doing them on a daily basis between 2 to 3 or, 3 to 4 across different properties. So if anything, this lockdown, we're just doing it better because we know what we could improve on previously. And it's giving us, more time to work on back end processes that, most agents, if there's agents out there watching us, you'll know that, sometimes we get caught up in, dealing with, selling a property or what our next listing is going to be, but we don't actually look at the back end at our processes and what we can get better at, or, building our pipeline and, database calls, etc., or cleaning a pipeline, all those little things, we finally have the time to, get on top of that now. So, making sure that you're really making use of that spare time that you do have and being productive throughout this, because if you're not,
lots of long walks. Last time when there was lockdown, my dog ended up pulling muscle because of how many walks I used to take him.
You did.
So
our
this
dogs
time
are
around,
loving it.
it was. I think it by the end he started protesting. He was just like, I think I've had enough. Too much walking. This is like I'm a dog, not a professional athlete. So leave me alone. So I think again, like it goes along the same lines. We knew what happened last time. We're better prepared. We know excessive walking is going to pull the dog's muscle. We know, other things around the business, for example, driving traffic. I mean, key thing at the moment, our big focus, us as a business, all of us, we're working very hard on driving traffic. I know one of the themes out there at the moment is some sellers are nervous about going directly onto the market and going to the big portal. So we're taking a two-step approach, where the first step, is a bit of a softer campaign, right? So I think we might have lost Angela there. Someone might have called her halfway or something. But What's that soft approach look like, Nikita?
So at the moment, obviously the common trend is with vendors that we're dealing with before launching to the market is they, in all honesty, they're nervous. They're really nervous, and I don't blame them because they don't know what to expect. So we're really having to walk them through the process of things in terms of holding their hand through every step on what to expect in the first week, what not to expect, concerns. And our approach that we're taking at the moment to alleviate that, stress with vendors is the two-step approach, which is trying that off-market campaign. So, going online to Domain, which we have deals with, so it's free to them. So Domain on our Ray White Cheltenham website, and also to our active subscriber list. We have an active subscriber list of over 6,000 buyers that are looking for properties in the Bayside area. So,
Angela's back.
No, sorry.
Yeah. So instead of going full throttle with, a $6,000 to $8,000 marketing budget, we're offering them, $800, just get some Photoshops done, floor plan.
Softer approach to get them warmed
really,
up.
really soft.
Exactly. Social media, subscriber list. I've actually got, once again, I'll share the screen. I've got the sample of what that does look like. I'll open that up so people can see. So this is an example of what we give our clients. And it's actually one of the properties you sold some time ago, Angela, Marsh Street.
I did. Yep.
And through the course of the campaign, we
crazy.
sent out over 11,000 emails, 11,419 emails to people on the Ray White database.
Yep.
And we actually tracked the views, how many people viewed them, and we also tracked the multiple clicks. So 82 people had actually clicked on this property multiple times. And then the back end would obviously show us who these people are that are subscribed to receiving this information. And based on that, we can take that next step and then speak to these buyers. So they're not just random buyers that are searching out there. They're people that are actively looking at their properties, hearing from us each week. And this is like a new version of those read receipts, isn't it? Back in the day, you used to send someone an email and you'd get a receipt if they've clicked or read on that email. It's exactly the same. And we're actively looking at that data and going, okay, these buyers are clicking on these homes, they're engaging with these properties. The best thing to do right now is pick up the phone, be proactive, speak to these buyers and go, hey, Angela, notice you may have looked at this property that I sent you. Would you like to arrange a private viewing? Is that along the same lines as what's really working well with the soft approach?
Absolutely.
Okay, beautiful. Last question before we wrap up today's session, and we'll do this again next week. I think we've had some really good viewership and people seem to really enjoying this. Auction or private sale at the moment?
Auction all the way.
Auction.
Why wouldn't you?
Boom. Why would you, Ange? The question is, why would you auction?
Well, the question is, why wouldn't you? When I think the misconception that's been out there, and this goes back to a long, long time ago, a lot of people tend to think that an auction costs more when it doesn't. It's essentially the same. I think there's a couple of $100 variance, which includes the auction day services and something else. But essentially, it's not going to cost you any more. So that is out the window, that old myth. Secondly, well, there's a lot of things. Obviously, the seller gets an unconditional contract. Okay, so as opposed to a private sale and making offers and subject to finance and subject to building and subject to my nana liking it and all these other things, there's an unconditional contract. But even more so, it's deadline driven and you have a date to work towards getting a result. So why be one of the many properties that hits the market as a private sale with an asking price? And if you get that price wrong, well, you're going to sit on the market for a lot longer. Be deadline driven, a 4-week intense marketing campaign, the auction dates in 4 weeks' time. Buyers know they have their finance to sort out and make a decision, get everything checked out. And as a seller, you've got a great marketing campaign behind you, buyers that can buy. And chances are, if you're in that 70+% percentage that is selling, you're going to get a result.
Very true.
And even if you don't, I mean, just because you're scheduled for auction, there's nothing stopping you from taking a good offer prior to auction if it does come up.
Alfred Street.
Exactly.
We had last week. Yeah, scheduled to auction in 2 weeks' time. Had a really good offer, close to the top end of the price range. You had Ellis Street last night, which was scheduled to go to auction in 2 weeks' time. Really great offer, so you decided to move forward on that offer. I think from my point of view, and part of the reason I believe in the process so much is, in the current climate, I find that there's generally a couple of things. that buyers are generally a little bit nervous, and also they want to take their time. They want to see what happens. Unless there is a format to create emergency for them to act, why would they act? They just want to take their time in a lot of cases.
Exactly.
Plus the unconditional contract, no cooling off period, all those things which would work in the favour. But also, I firmly believe that purchases like real estate are very much driven by social proof. So what I mean by that is, it's no different to when we go to Gucci store. As much as there's so much room inside, they always make people line up at the front. And it's the same philosophy. Obviously, number one, they want to give really good service, and I know Nikita goes there all the time, so she can definitely tell us more information.
They started
Oh, there you go. Yeah, they started it exactly. This company is years ahead of the pandemic. But number two, it's really creating the hype and the excitement around it, and that's what we're really trying to do. Because in this climate, when people, if they're looking at property A and property B, property A, if they're 10 out of 10 sure about this home, they love it. It suits their budget. But if they're the only buyer that's interested, they will start questioning if there is something wrong with this property, because there's no one else, as opposed to if they go to another home, which is property B, which they might be 7 out of 10 sure about it, but they see a few other people that are interested, there's multiple registered bidders, there's a lot of hype, excitement, all the rest of it. Straight away, the first thing they think of doing is sort of go, okay, geez, this is a popular property. This must be a good home. We like it. So do a lot of the people. They're more likely to feel more confident in moving forward with that sort of a purchase. And to me, that is the absolute sole reason why auctions do so well in a climate like this, right? Now, if they pass in Bomber right there, Bomber, great auctioneer, great agent down in Geelong, is I'm going to be careful with my skin color, how often I use the word Bomber. Before you know it, the SWAT team will rock up. But, Matt Wade from Geelong, exact same formula. Geelong's been a slower market compared to what we've experienced, even through our peaks. And they do auctions down there, and for the exact same reason, to have that hype, to have that excitement, to have multiple buyers in the same platform, make them compete, and that's what reveals the best price. Because how often, Angela, you've been doing this for a long time, and you've been doing this for some time as well, Nikita. Every seller we've ever sold for always generally wants one thing, which is, I want the best price, right? What is the best price? The best price is not a measurable metric.
No.
The best price to all three of us could be something different. The best price to a seller could be something different. The only way a seller can know they got the best price in the end is through all the work that was done beforehand, the competition, the hype, the excitement, the buyers, the volume, the negotiation. Wherever they stop at the end, the seller almost does a rewind of the whole process, looks at the process from the end to the start, and makes an assessment based on that to go, okay, we got the best price because the agent did everything they possibly could. The property was well presented, well marketed. We had multiple buyers, Section 32s, registered bidders. They competed, they fell in love, they fought for it. Here's where it stopped. And then the seller has to make a decision in the end. Okay, this is the best price in the current market. Do I accept that offer or not? And that's, to me, that's the definition of the best price. So my simple answer is, why auction? Well, that's the only way a seller can be confident right now if they got the best price or not. How else can you be sure?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly right.
We'll do this again next week. What do we think, team?
Shall do.
Absolutely. We'll talk about a few other topics. I think one of the things we want to talk about is the most popular streets and pockets in the area at the moment. So really good for local residents to tune in and watch as well. Watch streets and pockets. We've noticed there's some streets that have been extremely popular with people. There's certain styles of homes, certain properties that have been popular. I think we'll talk about property styling as well, styling versus not styling, single story versus double story. We'll go into a few different topics that a lot of people have questions about. And then I think by next week, when we catch up again on this panel, we'll have a little bit more insight into how the market's progressing, how the auctions on the weekend went, what the activity was, and we can definitely get into some detail with that as well. What do we think?
Yeah, sure. Sure will.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much today. And Matt Wade has been our most engaged member in our audience today. So thank you so
Gold
much.
star.
Have a good weekend too, Bomber, and say give Billy a lot of kisses for us. Billy's his 1-year-old daughter, just turned 1. And say hi to Lani. And guys, have a great weekend. I look forward to doing all the auctions, us as a team of the weekend, and we'll revisit this next week.
Don't forget
we'll see you
to
guys.
jump on Gavel, GAVL, download the app
GAVL.
and watch us in auction action on Saturday.
Auction action.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, auction action on Saturday. Yeah, download the app, watch us live, share this video with as many people as possible. Make sure you comment on if there's any topics you'd like us to discuss. And aside from that, take care, stay corona free, look after yourself, maintain your social distance, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.